Two, one. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Pursuit Podcast, Making Orlando a Better Place. My name is Dr. Ron Miller. We have our normal Dr. Trey Martin with us, and we have a special guest today, Ben De La Cruz. He's the owner of Orlando Performance Training Center. Thank you for joining us today. Just to go over a little bit about Ben, he actually played football at Eastern Kentucky University, and then he went on to pursue his bachelor's degree in health sciences, and he further continued his education. While doing his kind of stuff, he was trained by world-renowned strength coaches and performance specialists. And then in January 2017, in Orlando, Florida, Ben started his business and opened up OPTC. And since then, I mean, we were talking earlier with this, he was expanded. He's opened up a second location, and he's really been working on building his brand and highly recommended training facilities. He specializes in off-season training programs that have been recommended by, not only local high school athletes and local athletes, but his resume of who's he's worked with right now, just reading off it, Major League Baseball All-Star, Major League Baseball MVP, a Grey Cup champion, Rookie of the Year in the Canadian Football League, high school athletes, numerous Major League Baseball players, NFL players, CFL players, 3 state championships. So obviously the resume and the outcomes there are good. Welcome, Ben. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Well, one thing, it's Optimal Performance, not Orlando Performance.
Optimum Performance. Sorry about
that. Yeah, no, it's all good.
It's funny because it's OPTC the whole time over that. I just see the initials the whole time. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, no, everyone, if people say Orlando, it's Optimal Performance Training Systems. Yeah, that's the place.
I apologize about that.
No, you're perfect. All good.
So for our listeners, tell us a little bit about you and what type of athletes you actually specialize in. Any specific niche markets? Is it only high-end athletes, elite level athletes, or do you also work with like middle school, junior athletes? What are some of the athletes that you work with?
Yeah. So I've started this in 2017 just to find a better way to train athletes. I interned and worked with a lot of guys that were really good, and I saw really bad training and really good training, and I knew there was a way to make it right. So I decided to start my own thing, and we train a variety. I mean, I have NFL guys, MLB guys. I have high school athletes. I have youth athletes. I have currently like 6th, 7th graders that I've been training. And they don't look like 7th graders. They're much mature and they're really, really strong. But the good thing is that we have such a instinct and such a good background of many different types of athletes and ages that we have a program for everyone. So it doesn't really matter if you're a middle school athlete to freshman in high school to a college to a pro. Our programs are custom made based off of your training age, your experience, your demands, what sport you play, injury prevention, things you've had done before. So everything is custom made. We also have a big personal training following. No one really knows that because we're all sports, yeah. But we train some lawyers, we train, regular 9-to-5 workers like that. So we're a one-stop shop for anyone that needs anything fitness or sports related.
Is it just you, or do you have other staff with you?
It's just me and an employee. It was just me for the first 4 years. Now I'm going into my 5th year, and I hired someone because I got too busy.
Respect the hustle, man.
It was just me. It was just me. Before I met my wife, I was doing Monday through Sunday. I wasn't stopping, and then my wife told me I need a break, so she made me stop on Sundays. So. But now it's getting really busy. My schedule is becoming very booked that it's a blessing. I'm really thankful for all the people that entrusted in me to do what I'm doing.
Very nice. Trey, do you have any questions to start off with before we dig into some of his programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So I saw you worked under Charles Poliquin, correct?
I learned from him. I didn't really work for him. I went to seminars and I took his test and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just curious, what were some of the main takeaways? Obviously, Charles Poliquin, such a legend in that industry. What were some of the main things you learned from him?
To respect tempo. That tempo is key, and that a lot of people don't understand how tempo and eccentric strength is very important for athletes and in general life. And to stay true to the rep ranges. If you're going to have someone do a 5 RM, don't try to go do a 3 RM for a 5 RM. Stay true to the strength quality. And the big one was he had an acronym called KISS, Keep It Simple, Stupid. And he always preached that, because sometimes people would try to, do really fancy things with athletes that didn't really need that. A lot of times things I've learned from him was that some pro athletes you would think they needed to do a big over yielding eccentric phase, and no, they just needed to get strong. So sometimes you don't have to do that many fancy things for a high level athlete or low level athlete to get a result. So those are the three things that always stick with me. Tempo, always respect the tempo, because you think you can lift heavy. Like, I'll have some guys come in and say, "Oh, I bench 400." I'm like, "All right, let's go do a slow eccentric." And now tell me how much you bench. And it's a true aspect of strength. So those are the three things I think really stuck with me learning from Charles Poliquin.
Cool. Could you give a brief overview of what you're talking about with tempo reps, just for the listeners?
Yeah. So like tempo is, so say like a back squat, and you want to squat, and say you're doing 5 reps, people just go down, up as fast as they can. That's good for certain phases and certain power. But for tempo, if you take 135 and squat it down slow for 5 seconds, it's going to feel like it's 300 pounds. It's going to feel like it's a lot heavier. But for that's going to build more muscle mass. It's going to make your soft tissue, your ligaments a lot denser and a lot thicker to help you absorb more energy. So if you come back in 3 or 4 months and do 135 again, and you want to move it fast, you're going to be able to move it a lot faster than you did before. So tempo is used for a lot of things. It's about how slow you can move suboptimal or heavy weight for amount of reps to build muscle mass, to build explosive power. So there's many different ways, but it's how slow you can move certain weights for a certain rep range.
Do you use the going up and down phase of controlling the tempo for the novices, just going up and down, but for us, concentric and eccentric? Do you go down slow and up slow, or are you going down slow and up fast? Or
I do both. Like for younger athletes, I do both to teach them what I want. If I notice in our assessments we do, I'll have them do a goblet squat and they're just falling out of the bottom, or they're like going really forward up. Then I'll have them do no weight, and I'll do a 5-0-5-0 tempo, and it absolutely crushes them. But they understand what I mean, and then that easily cleans up a lot of issues that they have. That it could be like, wow, your hips are really imbalanced. No, you're not neurologically understanding what you need to do, and it makes a lot easier way to progress someone.
I'm all about the muscle hypertrophy phase, and I'm tapping into my old man strength phase right now. I just turned 41, so. But anything that I can do to induce or increase muscle hypertrophy, I'm gonna have to start trying that out with maybe a slower tempo, not just pushing weight, but changing my tempo.
You slow down the tempos, and there's a thing called VMA that one of my mentors taught me, that if you go slow up and down, eccentrically for 5 seconds, and then you do a pause on the 11th rep, and then you do fast right after, that recruits so many more motor units and will increase so much more muscle spindle activity that your muscle is just going to blow up. You're going to feel like you're jacked. And then after a while, it really helps fat loss, and it really helps muscle definition.
Say that again. So you do 10 reps, 5 seconds slow down.
It could be like any reps you want range, but you do half of it with a slow eccentric up and down, and then the next half. So do half of it, and then the rep between the half. So say you're doing 20. So on the 11th, you want to pause in a mechanical disadvantage range. So midpoint, bottom point, whatever you want. And then after you hold it for 8 seconds, you do 5 more or 10 more extremely fast with no weight or with the weight. And it really makes you recruit higher end motor units and fibers. And that really will help muscle growth.
Are you doing this at like 50% of your max?
I would do 50%. It depends on the reps. So if you do 20 reps, you should use like 70% of your 1RM or 50% of your 1RM.
You better watch out, Trey. I'm going to get swole, and there's going to be another button coming off. Just wait. Any other questions for Ben, Trey?
Yeah, you kind of touched on this earlier. Is the 5-0-5-0 your typical beginner tempo you like to use, or what's the first progression you kind of go through with those people?
Usually, if I realize that some kids have 0 eccentric strength when we do our assessments, then I'll start with a 5 second or 4 second. It all depends on if they can handle it, if they can stay true to it. If they're really, really, really underdeveloped, I usually start with 3 seconds, just because I don't think they can handle going down for a true 4, because they're going to end up doing 3 anyway. So I start there. And the more advanced you get, the longer eccentric you should be able to do. So like right now I have a CFL player, Brandon Alexander. He can do 10-second eccentrics for 3 reps with, 110% more than his max. He's so advanced in that eccentric strength that he can do that. So he's built up to that to now. I've had him for 4 years. So it takes a time. It's a process. We just don't do that. Now, if there's special occasions, if someone comes in and I can see that, they can do it, they just don't know how to have their nervous system and their muscular system work together, then I'll really push it and do higher eccentrics, but I'll focus on that for a couple of phases and it'll work out. So it varies. It varies on their training age to their experience to what I see in their assessment.
Perfect. Good. So one thing that really stood out to me is your athlete programs and your 4 phases. I think this really makes you stand out compared to your competition or compared to other performance centers and stuff like that. Can you break down into a certain example of what each 4 phase, from going from mobility? I think phase 1 is structural balance mobility. Phase 2 is accumulation hypertrophy. Phase 3, intensification and strength. So for some of our athletes or even followers who have kids that are going into high school sports, can you break down an example of this 4-phase program of yours?
Yeah. So what happens is you come in and we have a 4-step system that we have all our athletes stand on, and we do whatever assessment I want to do with them. Usually we have a system now where we do a counter movement jump, an isometric, a single leg movement, and another stabilization movement. And from there, it gives me back readings that I see how much acceleration power, how much force, how much eccentric strength, and how much landing eccentric strength and pulsing do they do. Now, based off of their training age, their experience, their timeline, we always start with the structural balance phase. That basically just means if I see kids that are pulling more on the isometric pull, if they pull with 30% more of their right leg than their left, and that's a high injury risk right there because they're 30% stronger on their right and their left. Doesn't know where on their leg, but it's on the right side of their leg. So then I put together a structural balance phase that will fix that, will help decrease that imbalance. And that will also help us understand where it needs to go from there. And it could be a mobility issue too. Yeah, it could be a mobility issue too. Yeah, we've been doing that for 3 years now, and it's really helped. It's really cleaned up my assessments to where I don't have to guess anymore. Not that I guessed in the first place, but I kind of said, I'll just try this. I know it'll work, but we'll see. Now it's like, okay, yeah, he has to do this, this, and this will happen. So from the first phase, structural balance, based off of their training age, it goes from, really simple like Poliquin step ups to reverse sled drags to some adductor work, to hamstring work, some isometric stuff, real simple things, but things I need to work on. And then from there, depending on their experience, like I'm always saying experience, because it comes down to that. Because if they walk in the door and they have 0 weight training experience, I'm not going to do what I would do with someone that has 3 years. But we also have a different way to look at that. I'll tell you that in a minute. So from phase 1 is structural balance mobility, and it can last 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the timeline and how fast they progress. And then it goes into accumulation, which just means more hypertrophy, because a lot of athletes lack that. They really train strength all the time. They don't understand that hypertrophy builds strength and not the other way around. So sometimes if you're lacking muscle size, that will make you stronger in the long run. So a lot of guys are so CNS driven and so strong that they don't ever lift past 5 reps on anything. And they're like, why can't I get stronger? And I'm like, all right, let's do some, functional hypertrophy phases, and let's get you stronger and let the nervous system and the muscle spindle work a little more. And then you'll start seeing the gains, and, your sleeves getting big and your everything's getting huge, and your strength goes up, because sometimes athletes don't pay attention to that. And that's what it causes injuries, can cause fatigue. And then after that phase, it could be 2 to 3 weeks. Then we get into intensification. Now, these blocks here are all based off of what did I see on their structural balance and their power testing. So if some people are lacking acceleration, I'm going to do acceleration phases here. If they're lacking starting strength, I'm going to do starting strength here. If they're lacking just pure strength, I'm going to max them out. I'm going to build as much maximal tension as we can. So that intensification phase is very to their KPIs, their key performance indicators. So if I know I have a football player, he needs to have a lot of starting strength, then I'm going to put that in that phase. And then the next phase after that will be another accumulation. That will be almost similar to the first one, but a little more volume, because now they're going to need more volume to overcome the strength they just built to get bigger. And then the next one will be another acute intensification. And that phase is going to be really based off of what we did on the first phase. It could be eccentric strength only. It could be power phase. It could be whatever they need to work on at their key performance indicators. So each phase has a reason why, depending on what they want to achieve and what they need to achieve and their timeline. So if I have someone for 3 or 4 years, I can build a real good program undulating, which you can see up and down, perfect. Now, when it becomes a month or 2 months per person, it becomes very, very, very specific to what they need. And sometimes you have to throw some of these rules out of the window and get to what they need to get done. So those phases are all built off of the person's key performance indicators. I learned that from my mentor, Ben Prentice. He really pushed that and literally opened my eyes to like how to do 4 stacks and see, okay, if they're lacking this, and this is what needs to be focused on these 3 phases. So not always you need to do structural balance phase with someone in the first phase. If they don't have a really big imbalance, you can fix that by just doing step ups. You don't have to waste a whole phase doing that. So each phase is really dictated on the person and what they need to work on.
You have any questions on that one, Trey?
No, but he reminded me of, he was talking earlier about building hypertrophy and how the cross-sectional area helps you get stronger. It reminded me of my powerlifting career. I thought if I got really strong, I'd be really big, right? And I was like, oh, if I can pick up all this weight, I'll be huge. And it was just funny. I realized at the end of that phase of powerlifting in my life, I was still small, but I could lift a lot. And it's just crazy how much neural adaptation you can get in the body just from training heavy movements. But I was very specific to what I could do, but I couldn't do a pistol squat. I couldn't do anything functional, but I could do 3 things really well, right? So it's just kind of interesting how you're talking about with athletes having those different phases and attacking it from a bunch of different areas. I was just curious too, are most of your clients multi-year projects, or are a lot of people just, a couple months in for the off season and then out?
Yeah, most of them. I mean, right now I have a lot of high school kids, so it's 3 to 4 years straight I see them, so I can really build out to what their senior year, what they should be lifting, what they should be doing, where I should be peaking them at for each event. But I have, a couple MLB guys that come and NFL guys that come, or I go to them, and, that lasts about maybe 3 months, 2 months at the most. And so that is where I've gotten pretty good at creating custom programs off of a short-term phases. And I think I've gotten really good at programming that to where I can peak them at the right time and really show the strength and power they need faster and not overtrain them and know exactly what they need to do. But mainly most of them are long-term, and, the athletes, the pro guys I get for 3 months, 4 months, 2 months, it's basically what they need to do to help their performance. I'm not really in the game of how much weight I can lift now. It's more about how can I improve my performance. And a lot of the times it has to do with certain strength qualities that they're lacking. So I'm not going to waste time maxing someone out if they're already really good at maxing out. They need to work on more velocity. So I'm going to do a lot of velocity-based training.
Now, these guys, do you program for them in season too, or do they go
some
back to
I do. Some I do. Some of them I do. Some of them I don't, just because of some guys don't like to lift during the in season. They like to stay doing their routine. Some guys do. Like I have 2 guys now that I do that with, and they stay consistent. Some guys, they'll hit me up when they want a little refresher. They want something good, and I can do that for them. But usually these guys that go back, they're strength coaches. They do a pretty good job, and I'm in communication with some of them. Like I had the Baltimore Orioles guy come down here last off season. I trained Ryan Mountcastle, and he came down and we talked, and he watched me train him, and we talked shop and talked about what are things that, we like to do with him. And, and I know it's transferring over to what he's doing now. And that made me feel good that I know that he can understand what I'm doing and he liked what I was doing. And it was a good relationship.
That's awesome.
Not all coaches are like that. A lot of them in this industry are prideful and they don't want to listen to other people, but he was really cool to talk to, and it really opened my eyes to like there are good guys out there that will listen.
Yeah, I could see how you have all these 4 phases during an off-season program. How do you adjust it during an in-season program? Are you just trying to maintain strength to prevent loss of strength, or what are some keys to your in-season training programs?
In-season is a little tricky. It has to do with, so if someone starts with me brand new during their in-season, then I really just focus on structural balance and power. I really don't do too much of eccentric training. I really don't do too much things that can make them too sore. Now it all depends. If they're not playing very much, and they're third string and they're not playing, then I can kind of push them a little harder because they're not getting enough minutes, enough playing time. Now, if it's an everyday starter, what I do is I do an assessment the same as normal. But then I look, I'm like, all right, he's lacking acceleration. He's a football player. He's got a game on Friday. We're going to do some dynamic effort work, and we're going to do some, I'm going to find out what his max is, what he used to do. And I'm going to go off of there, and I'm going to build power, concentric power, and then, keep him fresh and fix the stuff that we have to fix structural balance wise, and just make sure he's staying fresh and not too sore and staying strong. Cause a lot of kids, they get afraid to lift during the season because they don't want to be too sore. But our in-season program is really built around building power and building mobility and structural balance and keeping that what it is and making it better. So in-season is a little different. It's not as, I wouldn't say it's not as intense. It's just not as high intensity as it is off-season, just because we want to make sure that they're recovered enough to play. Because I name my business Optimal Performance because I believe that you have to train optimally. You can't overtrain and undertrain, because if you overtrain, you're going to ruin someone. If you undertrain, you're not going to do anything. I like to stay in the optimal zone of stuff. So we take recovery pretty well here, and that's what I look forward to in season. I try to train them for strength and power, but also recovery during that. So it's a little more in depth in season than it would be off season.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. Perfect. So what's the vision for the business? How big do you want to grow? Do you want to, what's the plan? What's like the 5-year vivid vision type of thing?
Well, I'm going into my 5-year in January, and I've opened up a second location. I've closed it recently because it was more gaining attention and getting guys over from the Seminole County area. And now I acquired a couple clients there, and it was good to have. It was just too much stress and too much traveling and too much time that I feel like it was being wasted. So now I have one bigger location here in Winter Park, which is probably both the sizes of my first gyms. So it's really good. I don't know. I'm happy what I'm doing. I want to keep growing. I want to get more known in social media with what we do. I want to start writing blogs. I want to get on more podcasts. I really want to start teaching stuff and showing what we do here, how it's different. I've always wanted to open up a gym down in Miami, but
there you go.
We'll see. I have a couple of NFL athletes down there that want me to come down there, and maybe I'll do it. But just to keep growing each year, I want to keep growing with clients, with success, impacting the community as much as I can. Just want to keep this better than last year, and we'll just see where it takes me. I don't really like to look too far in the future. I like to live in the moment every day and get better every day. And if I can get better every day, then it'll take care of itself.
Are you mainly one-on-one with clients?
One-on-one and semi-private. So we do, me and my employee we have up to 2 people at a time. So 4 max in the gym. We don't do big groups. We don't do stuff like that, just because I think it's a disservice to some athletes that need a little more attention. I've seen gyms and I've seen performance centers do, 6 kids at once with one trainer, and the kids are just doing terrible form and it's not really working out for them. And I've had them come in and like, wow, you guys are on me like hawks. You watch everything we do. I'm like, yeah, because we want to, a good program is good, but if coaching sucks, it's going to suck. So if you don't have good coaching, you're not going to really get the result you want. So we really take pride in being one-on-one and semi-private. We get to know our clients. We understand them. Mm-hmm. We know like if this person comes in, hey, he's got Max Everett today, we need to fire him up. Let's blare some music in here. Let's get it going. And if some other guy comes in like, hey, he responds this way, let's make sure we handle it this way. So it's very customized to everything we do. And that's why I think we've been so successful here, because they'll go to places that are big groups and, they get more kids in and They may do more sales and whatever, but I value us on more of the personality and the personalized things that we do that gets a better result.
What kind of playlist do you guys have blaring in there most days?
Oh man, I listen to so much music every day. It's 80s to new rap to some heavy metal to country to one of my clients loves listening to Hamilton soundtrack when she works out. So I gotta hear that sometimes. So
that's a weird way to go about it.
Yeah, it's fun, but usually it's rap or it's old school rock or rap. I'm a big fan of Biggie and Tupac and stuff like that, so I like listening to that.
You're not into club music yet?
No, not yet. No, I hear it all the time, but it's all right.
Just me then.
Is that what you're listening to as you're treating patients straight in the back?
Every day, 100% of the time. It's always club music. I think I played Kygo today for a while. I had Chainsmokers on yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, some of the indie stuff I'm into, Spotify won't even pick up. So, but that's yeah, it's fun back here. A lot of times the older patients kind of think it's weird, but it's okay. It's good for them. Gets them bumping a little bit, makes it fun.
Yeah.
So I was just searching through the website also. I also saw that you have online training programs. Can you kind of go into what the online training programs entail a little bit? I mean, everyone went online after COVID, so most of us offer this and stuff like that. But for some of our followers also, what does the online training look like and what does it entail?
Well, it's a little different than most, because if you can't come here, if you like some clients I have, they live in the area, they just don't want to come to the gym or it's too far. So I'll schedule them to come on the weekend just for one time. I do the assessment in person. I find out what they have, what they need, what their goals are, what they need to work on. And then we have an app called Train Heroic, which is very in depth. It's very customized, and I can build the programs off of it. They log the weight as they go. They follow my video instructions, and they can rate how hard it was. They can rate how they're feeling recovery-wise. It's very in depth. It's very cool. The best online stuff I've seen to date. And then what we do is we do a 4-week cycle. I monitor them as they go. Then we do a recheck every month, every 2 months, how their body fat's going, how their strength is, how their sleep is, if I have to adjust it, anything like that. So it's very almost in person, but online. I'm very communicative with them. Every weekend, we'll email each other and stay up to date. So it's a little different, but it's not as great as it is in person, but it's almost ideal because the strength training stays the same phases, everything works the same, just in their own gym.
How do you test body fat with the online clients?
Either they come here and do it, or I reach out to someone that has an InBody or someone that I know around them that has calipers, and I have them go do it and they give me back the reading. Or if they go to their doctor, they can give me their body mass index or their total body fat, or I just go off body weight. If they can't give me it, I'll just go off their body weight and just adjust it off of that. But there's ways to do it. We do calipers here. We do a 12-point sight, and we do it's like a hormonal test. We see where they hold the most fat, and it shows me hormonal issues, what they're having. If their cortisol is high, if their adrenal glands are high, then they need this and this in their diet and get better sleep, which everyone doesn't do. And that fixes a lot of stuff too.
Speaking of sleep, how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
Well, I have a 6-month-old baby at home now.
You're not getting any sleep. Yeah. Congratulations, baby. That's awesome.
Thank you. I mean, I'm getting more than my wife. My wife's a trooper. She's really the best mom out there, and she's doing really good with everything she's doing. And I wouldn't be able to do this today when I'm dealing with that. But before the baby, I wasn't getting a lot of sleep either. I was averaging like 5 or 6. My mind always goes, and I'm always trying to build this brand and these clients as well as I can. But now it's.
You'll learn about the baby thing soon, Trey. But I'm a 6 to 8er. I would say 6 to 8 hours of sleep is perfect for me. I'm good to go. But a 5 to 6 thing, it's like you can get so much more done. I wish I was one of those 4 to 5 hour sleeper guys that I could function, feel great. Off of 4 hours, but
I was good doing it. I was, perfectly fine. And then when my son was born, and I just was not getting good. I wasn't getting any sleep, and it was just like I could just feel it in the gym. I'm like, no one gave me stupid questions today. I don't. I'm not in the mood for it. but it's getting better as he gets older and we get used to being parents again. It's just more about being new to it. It's something new. We still don't know what we're doing yet, but it's getting a lot better.
What do you, Trey?
Sorry?
What do you, Trey, sleeping wise a night?
Probably 7 or 8. The bad thing is I don't have a kid and I drink a full espresso coffee before 8 a.m. I'm going to have a Jocko Go here in like 10 minutes. I mean, yesterday I had a Reign energy drink, a Jocko Go, and a full espresso coffee, and I was still asleep by like 10. So it doesn't work for me whatsoever. I don't know what I'm going to do when I have a kid, because I think the only natural progression from here is illegal substances, and I like keeping a job. So I don't know where else I can go. I mean, I'm pretty much one step away from methamphetamine, I guess. I don't know.
We have to get you on a detox.
Yeah.
Caffeine doesn't do anything for me one way or another. I mean, I could double scoop pre-workout and barely feel it. So I don't know. I think I have an iron liver. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe
that's intense.
Maybe I have adrenal fatigue like you're talking about. I don't know. I'm sure it's not good for my cortisol spike, but I've been holding a little bit of my hips lately. So maybe
that's funny.
Oh, man.
What was that question? What was that question?
Yeah, do you use like a Whoop tracking device or like Fitbit, or do you do any sleep analysis for yourself?
No, I don't want to see. I don't want to see how bad it is. I know how bad it is. I know how I feel. I've been interested in using them. One of my clients had that. He used it a lot. He would come in and go, I'm 60% recovered. Let's go. Or he'll come in and say, I'm 20%. And you could tell. So it was pretty cool to see it. I might invest in that and try it on me just to be interested in, what kind of sleep I actually am getting. But I know my body so well now that I know if I did it good or not. So
it's crazy. I use a Fitbit for sleep, and it's crazy how accurate it is. I mean, on nights I get like a 90 or whatever on the score thing, I notice I feel great, but I think it gets in your head too. If you wake up and you're like, oh, I got a 68, you're like, I should be tired now.
Yeah, I don't want to have that.
Days spent negative.
I don't want to have that, because some days I feel tired and like in a couple hours I'm good, and I want to make, oh no, I'm only 68. I shouldn't feel good. No, I can't do that.
So the question is, do you feel bad or you wake up tired when you have a 68? Or are you waking up feeling refreshed and ready to go and you're sleeping fine? Like, that's the one thing people always mention about that is like, I sleep like a rock. I fall asleep really quick and I sleep and I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I wake up and I'm ready to go. Like, I feel like my sleep is good quality. So I never even went that route of assessing sleep. But when you score a 60 something, do you wake up feeling tired?
Yeah, I normally don't. I've made myself not check when I first wake up. So I'll look like later that night and I'll be like, man, I feel like a bag of bricks right now. And then I'll look, and sure enough, my Fitbit will say I scored a 68 and I was awake for an hour and a half during the night. I would say it correlates pretty well. I'm not like you though. When I wake up, I don't know where I am. Like, I'm not oriented whatsoever. I stumble in, get the coffee going, but then I'm pretty hyper the rest of the day. So I don't know. I don't wake up very, very well though.
Pre-kid, Ben, what time do you wake up at? Are you a morning person?
Yeah. Pre-kid, I was getting up at 5 a.m. I had appointments usually at 6. So I was doing that. And now I get up around 2 and then 5.
Multiple times, every so many hours, but perfect. Any other questions that you want to finish up with, Trey, or are you good to go?
Yeah, I want to know what Ben's training looks like. I know you
good question.
You work with athletes, but what does your day in the gym look like?
Well, when I have time to work out, it's usually just now. I'll test some things out that I read about on myself. And if I see some athletes that I'm training and I do this method with them, and after they're done, I'm like, let me try this first again on me. Let me see if it's actually real. And I'll do like stuff like that. Now I had an old shoulder injury and when I played football, and that every day it hurts. Every year I get older, it hurts. So I do a lot of structural balance. I do a lot of hypertrophy, trying to, maintain, don't want to get a dad bod. So I keep just kind of do some hypertrophy and conditioning, make sure I can look good for my wife. Other than that, it's not as crazy anymore, because I just don't have the time. Honestly, I just don't have the time to actually lift heavy like I want to. Maybe later on when I get a little more employees in here and I can build more of a structural balance phase that can help me build that up, I can do that. But Right now, I just, whenever I can work out, it's arms all day, shoulders all day, back and glutes, and then, a lot of abs, and then I'm good.
Not much leg days though.
Oh yeah. Well, we have a belt squat machine and a pendulum squat machine, and I can load up because, my shoulder, its mobility is not there. I'm tired of using the squat bar, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just use belt squat and get it in, get it out. There were some times where I trained pretty hard and I got really good results, and I knew that would really be good for some athletes. So I like doing it to test some stuff out on myself, because I consider myself as a former high level athlete. And if my body can adapt to it, then I know that anyone else can. There's some things I've done with myself that killed me. I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that. That's insane. And then there's some stuff that I felt would be a good aspect to our program.
Well, perfect. I'm not going to let you off that easy yet. You got the Pursuit Fab 5 questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
So the first one is, what book are you reading right now? I didn't know that you had a newborn or a 6-month-old. So maybe what's the last book that you did read?
66 Key Strategies of Program Design by Kilo Strength. One of my mentors, Stefan, he wrote that. He's been really good at writing good blog posts and good books. I've been reading that one, and Super Training. I always reread that. I always dive in there and look at some things I might have reread or missed, but not really anything other than training books. I try to read more business books. I just said to interest me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, those 2 books I'd say are the best.
Perfect. Number 2, what's your favorite restaurant in Orlando?
Oh man, that's hard. Hillstone.
Ooh, that's in there. That's in there in the top 3 in the Pursuit right now. I would probably say, Hillstone's top 3. People say Enzo's on the water, and Kabuki Sushi just got bumped up to the top 3 in the Pursuit.
I like that. I like Boca on Park Avenue. That's pretty good. That's one of our spots me and my wife go to a lot when we can. And Booyah over on
Booyah, yep.
Yeah, over there. Those are 3 good ones that we go to all the time.
Very nice. Number 3 is, what's a under the radar small business or up and coming CEO or new business owner that you know in the Orlando area that you really love what they're doing? Do you know any other new small business owners coming up?
Not in this area. No, I don't. I really just keep to myself, honestly. I don't like to be distracted by other things. No, I mean, I know a lot of people out of state that are doing good. But in here, I really don't know. No.
No worries. Yeah. Number 4, what's something new or different that you're doing in order to stay healthy?
I'm really working on my sleep, but I'm also really working on cutting back on eating bad, stress eating, and drinking. I'm trying to, limit that down to, not. I really haven't really focused on my diet really at all. I've always been a lean guy, never really had problems with diets. And now I'm like, as I'm getting older, I really want to try it out. I really want to test it on myself. So I've been doing pretty good, staying healthy with food choices and, monitoring, when I drink, the amount I do, how much water do I take after, how is my sleep when I drink. And I noticed that I wake up a lot because when the alcohol digests and mobilizes in your bloodstream, it wakes you up. So it really messes me up. So I'm trying to get better at that. And that's really helped. I feel like my mental clarity is really good. And we do a lot of supplements with Design for Sport. It's an NSF certified. So I drink a lot of collagen in my morning with my coffee. I'll do a lot of beef protein that helps my gut health, and just trying to do the best I can with supplements that way that I don't get in my natural foods.
Perfect. Last question. What's one thing in healthcare that you want to see changed?
I want people to not be afraid of working out. I want people to realize that weight training is not going to make you bulky. It's not going to make you look like a man if you're a girl. It's not going to make you too big if you're a guy. That, your body responds well to weight training. It all depends on where you start. People try to start too advanced and too hard, and that's why they don't ever finish. Doctors sometimes are really quick to give medicine instead of have people work out.
Boom.
I've had a client of mine. She came in. She's been here maybe 4 months now. She's lost over 120 pounds, and she was considering just taking medicine, getting liposuction, and being done. And I've convinced her. Now she's 109 pounds lighter, and she's the happiest she's ever been in her life. And she's bought into training 4 days a week and eating healthy. And I just really wish that the medical field and all that in the healthcare system would just not be afraid of, like, you know what? Here's this trainer that's really good. Go to him and see if he can help you lose the weight first. If it still doesn't work out, then let's find other options instead of opting into medicine and surgery and stuff like that.
Yeah, exercise is medicine. So
it is.
I think Trey had a patient who came in with an injury, and he worked with her. And correct me if I'm wrong, she was diabetic, and now she's not now.
Yeah, she had type 2 diabetes for 15 years, and then she's been taking metformin for like 10 years. So we did some pretty basic stuff, kind of like you're talking about. I mean, it was like step ups and some squats, and I put her on a walking routine. She's 72, I think. She goes, gets blood work again, gets a new A1C number, and now she's in the pre-diabetic stage. So she's been able to cut down some blood pressure medication, some diabetes. And it was pretty simple stuff, kind of like you're touching on too. It's just crazy that that's not like the first line of defense for the medical system. I mean, it took us 3 months and like walking and a little bit of squats, right? And then reversed what medication couldn't for 15 years. So pretty wild.
I've had people like that too, where, you know, after a couple of months, they were no more, they don't get off their blood pressure medicine, and they're amazed. I'm like, yeah, sometimes you just gotta, your body is so used to what you don't do. Once you do it, it can change everything.
Yeah,
so perfect. So Ben, thank you very much for joining us today. And Ben's company is Optimal Performance Training Center, not Orlando. I do apologize for that. But if any of our followers want to find out more information about you, or to contact you, or to follow on social media, where can they find you at?
We have an app that you can actually download. It's called OPTC in your app store. It has our logo on it and has all of my availabilities, all my we have a free consultation and assessment you can book if you're interested in coming in. If you're an athlete, if you're a personal training client, if you just like to work out, you know, we have an app that you can download and see all our availability. You can go on our website at www.trainoptc.com or our Instagram. And I actually have a surprise. If anyone watches this podcast and they go on our app, they can get 20% off using the code Pursuit20. If they type
Perfect.
Nice.
Sounds good. We will add that the links and stuff like that, and we'll share that with everyone. But thank you very much for taking time out of your day today, Ben, to join us. And thank you for making Orlando a better place.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Ben.
No problem.